Thank you, Mr. Lobiano, and we'll go to Mr. Gibbs now. He chairs our Water Resources Subcommittee. Recognize Mr. Gibbs. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Micah, and also thank you for your leadership to include all modes of transportation and how important it is to our economy. The Maritime title of this bill contains 10 important provisions, which a few I'll briefly summarize. The Harbor Maintenance Trust Fund provides funds for the Army Corps of Engineers to carry out dredging the navigation channels to their authorized depths and widths. The trust fund is based upon a user fee collected from the shippers that utilize the nation's coastal ports. This is an important provision the dredging of the ports, because when you look at what's happening in Panama, the widening in the canal and deepening the canal, completion expected in about 3 years, the bigger ships that nearly all the ports in the United States need to be addressed to address the bigger ships to increase our exports. In fiscal year 2010, the trust fund grew by about $1.3 billion. It was spent only a little less than $830 million. This led to a balance of $5.6 billion by the end of fiscal year 2010. At the end of fiscal year 2011, the trust fund had an estimated balance of $6.1 billion. And by the end of fiscal year 2012, the trust fund is estimated to have a balance of $6.93 billion. However, since the trust fund is not off budget or separate from the general fund, all surplus funds have in effect already been spent by the federal government. In an effort to put the word trust back into the trust fund, the proposed maritime title includes a provision that ties the Harbor Maintenance Trust Fund revenue to expenditures. It will require total budget resources for expenditures from the trust fund for harbor maintenance programs to equal the level of receipts plus interest credited to the trust fund for that fiscal year. This would operate similar to the Airport and Highways Trust Fund. The provision is able to achieve these goals by declaring that it should be out of order on the House of Representatives or the Senate to consider any bill, joint resolution, or amendment, motion, or conference report that would cost total budget resources from the trust fund in a fiscal year for harbor maintenance programs to be less than the level of receipts plus interest credit of the fund for that fiscal year. Tomorrow, the Water Resources Subcommittee will hold a hearing subsequent markup of Mr. Bustani's legislation, H.R. 104, to realize America's Maritime Promise Act of 2011 legislation. The intent of this legislation will be included in the Transportation Reauthorization Bill. The maritime title also includes a provision to permanently extend the Army Corps of Engineers Section 214 program that expedites the processing of permits for all transportation-related activities. Permit backlogs have impacted the timeliness and cost of these port navigation investments, costs ultimately borne by the U.S. consumers and shippers. The maritime title also includes two provisions to expedite and streamline studies for new and enhanced navigation projects. It would allow non-federal project sponsors to contract with the Army Corps of Engineers to carry out studies to deepen channels and exempts navigation projects from having to participate in reconnaissance phase of a project study. In addition, the maritime title provides incentives for domestic waterborne transportation by eliminating the double taxation on shippers engaged in coast-wise or short-sea shipping. So, Mr. Chairman, these provisions will help in the total impact of the bill to streamline and expedite the permitting process and also provide ports deepening and widening of the channels to move our exports and our imports and strengthen our economy and create jobs in the United States. Thank you.
Thank you. And before we get to questions, last